Welcome to Jessica's Craft Time. My name's Jessica, and today we're working on our second episode of the Chocolate House, or Chocolate Room, should I say. Today we're just creating, excuse me, more of the little um, bits and pieces to go on the shelf of the cabinet we made in episode 1. So it's all paper crafty bits today. I'm just double checking with the inventory sheet because it's got 2 gold things on it. So I just want to make sure that the piece that I'm cutting is the right one. We needed 2 1.5 centimeter squares. So I've just marked it with a pen and cut it to give us our little squares. I double checked there's generally always a piece of paper in your kit which has templates on it. Use the templates, they really help. So I double checked before I cut the foil out to make sure there was no template, and there wasn't. So these are going to be like little jars of chocolate sauce or something like that. So I just checked my inventory sheet, and we wanted this rubber tube. Yet again, I've just marked it on it to cut out. Now there is a little bit left. We may not have to use it for anything else, but I always keep all my bits and pieces until the very end, and then all those pieces go into one of my boxes that a kit came in, and I have them all on hand. If I happen to do another kit that I cut something wrong or I need extra bits of something, quite often the kits have similar items in them. So I always keep all my bits and pieces. They might come in handy. I'm using the tacky glue here, and I put it on my little patty pan thing and used a toothpick to spread it out. Toothpicks, patty pans, your scissors, tweezers, they're all really handy things to have. And baby wipes. I have to have my baby wipes. It just helps with all the glue. And I've got my green boat from my diamond painting. Yet again, I'm going to put each thing as I finish it on. It just makes it easier to move around and keeps them all in one little thing. Now, these are little boxes, and they took me forever. I finally found them when I was reading correctly, but they took me forever to work out what I was doing. I'm like, blue, white, what's going on? I don't understand it. I'm like, I'll just cut it out and we'll go with the flow. And luckily, I finally worked out what was meant to be done because I thought the instructions was that I had to stick the blue bit on the white bit. I'm like, why am I doing that? That's why I keep pausing because I keep rereading the instructions and I'm like, it doesn't work right. Now you're meant to cut little V's out of the little bit here, and that's just so that it can bend into a circle. I don't cut the V's out. I just snip between each one. You can cut the V if you want, but it would just take forever to do all 4 of these strips. As it is, it takes ages to do them anyway, so I'm still not sure. At this point, I'm still not sure what I'm doing, but I'm just going with the flow. I'll cut it out. Then I did finally realize that I stick the white to the white and the blue to the blue, and the white's smaller than the blue. So, guess what? The white goes inside the blue. Took me a while. Now, the trick with these circles is I actually stick the tape onto it before I cut the circles out. The reason I do this is then I'm not cutting the circles smaller by accident when I'm trying to put tape on it later. I just find it easy to put the tape on and then cut the circles. I'm using a double-sided adhesive tape, and I just think you get a clearer, a better circle if you stick the tape on beforehand. So don't forget to score. I'm just using a point. And then I actually use the side of the ruler to fold over the little tabs. I just used a little bit of glue for the first one. I think I end up changing it to double-sided tape in the end and just trying to get like a circle, get it to fold into a circle. Take your tape off, try and get it off the bench without your fingers. Of course, it sticks to everything. And then I just kind of created the circle the best I could and stuck it down. and then I realized I was sticking it on the wrong one. So I just use the tweezers to push down any sections or push in any sections, and we're just repeating the same process, folding it over the edge of the ruler. I did get the tape out for here, glued them shut, and then just sort of press them down so all those little bits go in. And then because the white box is smaller than the blue box, the white box goes inside the blue box. It really was simple, but I just had a lot of trouble. I just couldn't grasp the concept of what I was doing. I'm not sure why. So this is the second episode. This one takes about an hour as well to complete all the bits and pieces. It's in fast forward at the moment. I'm not doing it this humanly quick. So we're up to about 2 hours, and I think it'll take me about 9 hours to do the whole lot. But that includes cutting or finding all your bits, cutting them out, and putting them all together. So we've got our little round boxes, and these go onto the little cabinet. And then the last one is we're doing some boxes. More boxes, more and more boxes. Now, you do need to be careful here. Luckily, I noticed I was going to cut in from the side, but actually around where I cut that piece of paper out is actually an archway with printed paper. So that will be for a doorway later. So be careful when you're cutting out your or your little paper bits that you don't cut through. It needed some ribbon, so I just measured all those bits of ribbon we needed. So I've got everything we need now to create the next step, which is what I like to do. Get everything out I need, cut all the bits I need, and then put it together. I find it a little bit easier to do it that way than to get the pieces as we need them. That's just my way, and I like to clean up the paper in between. I do have a bin that hangs off my desk, which is awesome. It's just right off to my right, and I can just drop everything in. Mind you, not everything makes it in. Especially after doing these miniature rooms, between that and card making, I've got bits of paper everywhere. So this was another one that I just, instead of putting tape on all the tabs, I put it on the end one, which will seal the box into a box, like into a square shape, as you can see here. Then I tucked everything else in, and I only put the tape on the other two flaps, and that will hold the whole thing shut. It's easier than cutting all these tiny little bits, and this is the same for this box. These boxes are, I think they're identical size. If they weren't, they were very similar in size, but the construction of them was exactly the same. I just needed the 3 bits of tape, one for the little flap on the end, which will close it to create the rectangle you need, and then a bit of tape on each of the tabs at the end. Scoring does really help. It really helps give you a clearer line on your boxes. And these boxes all end up in a stack with the ribbon around it, like a stack of presents. And we're done for that. Now we've got 2 more boxes, and these are very similar to the round ones we did in the fact that the white box slips inside the pink boxes. So you've got a longer one and a shorter one. Just a matter of cutting all the bits out. Where there's really small little V's of white paper in between, I don't cut the V out. It's too tiny. I just snip the paper so that they fold. If you want to be really, really make it perfect, you could cut that V out. But there's so much cutting when it comes to all these little tiny paper pieces that I just cut it so that it folds. I don't cut that little V out. But it depends how particular you want to be. I don't think it affects the final as long as it's there's not extra in there. Now these ones were really, really little, so what I did was I cut my tape in thirds actually, I think for this one, because they were really little. And instead of just sticking where the tab was at the end, I stuck along the whole side of it, and I just worked one side at a time. I also used the tweezers to sort of push them shut because my fingers are too fat to get in those little gaps. This one I actually sort of measured how long I needed. And did the same. Pulled it off, and it was just those little, worked one end at a time and then worked the second end. And they just go nicely in together. You did just have to, because I put the tape along the whole side, I just had to be a little bit careful when I put them together because it was sticky. But the advantage is they're now stuck together and not coming apart. So I just had to be a little bit more careful. I couldn't just shove them in there. I kind of needed to bend the edge of the box back a little bit to get the bottom white one in, and then I sort of press them shut. But it worked really well. And we're just creating a whole stack of presents here. I think in the next episode, we're going to start building a little bit more furniture, which is what I prefer. I don't mind doing these little bits, but I much prefer building the furniture. Now we've got to get our ribbon, and I've got my tacky glue, and then I'm like, hang on, I haven't glued them all together. I need to glue them all together. So just a bit of glue in between each one. And then I decided pull out my double-sided tape again, and I've glued the ribbon over, making sure it's not on top of each other because it will pull off. And I needed a little bit more tape here because there wasn't quite enough for the ribbon to stick to. And then I put another bit over the top to hold them down. Now this is a challenge, making a bow. Who's got a tip on how to make a tiny, tiny little bow? Because I tried to follow the instructions and I couldn't. I'm really, really bad at making these tiny little bows. I got there in the end. It wasn't perfect. So I'm trying to follow the instructions, but it's just not working. I really hate making these tiny little bows. I'm like, no, I need to make it look better. And I finally got it in the end. I think it was smaller than it needed to be because I cut off a whole section of fabric of the ribbon. But I finally got it going in the end. But it definitely took longer than it should have. And I just put a whole big dab of glue on the top and stuck it down. Now it's time to bring back our cupboard from episode 1, and we're just going to fill all these boxes in here. So I worked out this box was a little bit tall to fit in under the eave thing, so I kind of had to shove it in the top and then push it down. And we're just putting all the little bits in. Some of them I used double-sided tape. Some I just squeezed a dob of glue in there and stuck them in. There was enough tape on the bottom of the boxes for them to go in, and these ones I just put a whole dollop of glue in there, used my tweezers and pushed in the little things, and I did the same for the other two as well. And we have our cupboard created. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of our miniature room. Thank you for watching. Please think about giving me a thumbs up if you like my videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy crafting. Bye.